Welcome to Spit It Out. My name is Meg, and this is where we cut the fluff and spill life's real truth. Today, I wanted to talk about why I left my office that I was at for 2 years and how I ultimately ended up at the office that I am now. I wanted to take it back and set the scene. It is February of 2023, and I have not taken any board exams. I have not finished my classes, and I have not graduated dental hygiene school. I kind of threw myself into the whole Indeed and looking for a job thing as fast as humanly possible because my priorities right after school were make money, make as much money as you possibly can, and get a job as fast as you possibly can. That's all I cared about. I didn't really look into pros and cons of different offices. At the point, I didn't really care. I applied to a couple jobs. I interviewed at 2 offices the same day. The first one, it was this teeny tiny office and it was like in the middle of nowhere and it was cute, but it just didn't have what I needed basically. And this other office, the second one, was a little more accessible. I really liked the other hygienist that I was working with. I don't know, it just seemed legit. I really didn't look too deep into it. I just kind of was like, okay, looks good. When can I start? I basically just said, yep, I got the job and I signed myself up to work full time Monday through Thursday. As soon as I got my license, I started working. It was pretty much instantly. So I think May 22nd was my official first day in 2023. When I was interviewing for these positions, I did not look at all the things that I look at now. I did not ask the questions that now I ask. Because how the heck would I know what I do like and what I don't like of an office? I had never worked in one before. I was a little naive, if that's what you want to call me. And I would call myself that looking back. But it was cute. You know, she was a cute, naive little 22-year-old who just wanted to make some money. I worked at this office for 2 years and I learned so much more than I ever thought I would ever learn. Even though I didn't look too much into this office initially, I'm just so thankful that I worked there for 2 years because the doctors that I worked with and the experience I had with patients just blew my mind. I had never even known how to clean a denture with mini implant O-rings before. That was something I had to learn. I learned about airway. I learned about diagnosing different just restorative things that I never even heard of. I just couldn't go on and on and on about this office and what the doctors and hygienists taught me there. But there was something fundamentally wrong about the office, and I had a really hard time with it being run by a local DSO, is what I would call it. So basically a corporation that was local to Idaho. However, they did not have any general standards for any of their offices. If I went to one of their other owned offices, for example, let's say I was just planning on doing the same thing that I normally do, providing the standard of care. However, maybe I go to this office and they don't change their traps. Maybe they don't clean their suctions. Maybe they don't sterilize the XCPs that go in people's mouths. I could go on and on. Maybe their instruments are like butter knives and the sharpening stone is 10 years old and does not sharpen, because the instruments also don't sharpen. These are just some examples. I could keep going, and I probably will, just for 1 second. There was this doctor that used to work at one of their offices, and he eventually left. I'll give you that. But I would go temp at this office, and I could not believe the things that I would hear from him and see from him. He would tell patients who had periodontal disease to just basically shove an interproximal brush between their teeth and use chlorhexidine, and that was it. He didn't really do anything else. He didn't really care about anything else. That was kind of his quick fix for periodontal disease: interproximal brush and chlorhexidine. He had no periodontal referrals. He didn't really refer out anywhere. I asked him one time and he was like, I just think they just pull teeth, so I can just do that here. Yeah, that was just one example. And yes, he did leave, thank God. But the last place that I temped at was atrocious. It was bad. The doctor was nice. The doctors are always nice though. It's just like, that was the office that I made a TikTok video about that ended up giving me beef with the DSO, and I'll get to that. I had a lot of issues with my office just because of a lot of the employees throughout the last 2 years or so, there was a very high turnover rate. And when I say high, I mean like in 2 years, there was a 99% turnover rate. Every single person in that office, except me and the main doctor, was new. And it was actually insane because I didn't even know that was possible in a dental office. For some reason, I just assumed that everyone stayed forever. I was very wrong. I've learned that people leave offices that are poorly managed, period. That's it. We were very poorly managed for a long time. My office did do the standard of care. I really loved the dentist that I worked with. She was kick-ass, the coolest lady I've ever met. I just thought she was amazing. The other dentists, there were 2 men that I worked with in and out, and they were both awesome. I learned so much from both of them. So, the dentists were associates. It's not like they ran the practice or anything. We did have managers, and there was other managers managing the managers and so on. So ultimately, I did not have issues with the dentists themselves. But the DSO that owned the company was very shady at some times. They just did not know how to run a complete company, in my opinion. And I'm not saying I run a company. However, it's very weird to go into all of these offices that are owned by the same corporation, and every single one of them is different. And every single one of them apparently has been audited by an OSHA rep, but they're not actually cleaning their suctions. Like, who's approving that? I'm just wondering. And so that office was one of the reasons why I decided to leave, not even my own, because I had a hard time being okay with working for some company that doesn't even care that one of the offices is not doing the standard of care by cleaning the basic items that everyone knows how to clean. Just blew my mind. What really put me over the edge, what really made me quit at the end of the day, was someone found my TikTok. Not sure who, but I made a TikTok talking about all of these OSHA violations that I saw, right? The person who saw the video could tell what office I was at just because they had been there, mind you. There was no names of the office anywhere. Nothing. From an outside perspective, you would never know what office this was unless you'd been there, right? And you worked in the back room. That video of me complaining about this office as a temp went up the chain. And so a bunch of doctors saw it, and it got back to the doctor that I was working with and my manager. Clearly, they didn't like it because I was calling them out on all of their OSHA violations. I didn't get in trouble for it because they couldn't tell where I was, and I would never say where I was, of course. But I thought it was almost messed up that I didn't get an apology. And I know that might sound weird, but as an employee of a practice, going to another office to help them out and realizing and letting them know, by the way, I let this office know that they were not cleaning their traps right. They knew. Knowing that and still not saying anything just irked me. I just wish that they would have almost saw the video, reached out to me and been like, hey, I noticed that you went to this office and you did talk about these conditions that you were working with on a video. I know we couldn't tell what office you were at technically, but we've been there. We just want to let you know that we chatted with this office and we have fixed or are in the process of fixing the things that you pointed out because that is unacceptable. Oh my God. If that had happened, would I ever quit? Absolutely not. What happened was my manager was like, just be careful about what you post. You're not in trouble. I mean, they didn't really like it, basically. Well, I didn't like working there. So I don't know. Maybe I'm being dramatic. You can call me dramatic. But I do have high standards for the offices that I work at. I don't think any office that I've been to has ever been 100% on the book with OSHA. I do think there are some leniencies that are better than others, but not cleaning your sections blows my mind. Not changing a trap to where there was calculus and bacteria stuck probably as hard as it is in someone's mouth. You can see the stuff in the suction at bare minimum. All of those needed to be thrown away, by the way, every single thing. Enough about this crappy office. I hope none of you guys go there. I will never tell you where it is or what it's called. But if you do go to this office, I'm so sorry. If you're a new grad and you're just starting to temp at offices and you're starting to learn what you don't like and what you do like in an office, pay attention to how they clean their office. That will show you the most out of absolutely anything. And nowadays, that's the first thing I look at when I go to a new office is how are they sterilizing their instruments? What do the instruments look like? And how do they clean everything? Because at the end of the day, if your stuff's not clean, how are you working correctly? It's not. Moving on. Put in my 2 weeks. It was very quick. I don't think my manager was surprised. I had other issues go on before this incident in my office. They were minor, but I think everything that I had dealt with for the past 2 years when it comes to poor management, employee turnover, I think lack of communication heavily by the DSO had kind of put me over the edge. And the whole TikTok thing where I genuinely felt like everyone knew something, all the doctors knew something, they were talking about me and didn't support me. I just didn't feel safe. I didn't feel supported, in a nutshell. So I left. I found a new office before I left, of course, that was very small. Just one doctor, one hygienist, me, one front desk lady, and one dental assistant. Very small, very slow. I'm a lot happier. I'm not gonna lie. They have a lot of different things that they do than my old office. A lot less implant placement. No all-on-6, all-on-4 implants. Not a lot of dentures, some of them. Everything's pretty straightforward. And because we're not super busy, I can actually get patients who need a 3-month perio maintenance on a 3-month perio maintenance, and people to be on regular recares quickly because my schedule isn't backed up 4 months. I only have like a month and a half buffer. At my old office, my schedule was so booked up that my patients who needed SRP, perio maintenance visits, they were pushed out way too far, and I was just sick of it. I was like, I can't keep doing this. This is like not okay. That was part of the reason why I joined this new office. I wanted something slower. I wanted something closer to home as well, which was a benefit. And I wanted something that wasn't going to be so stressful as well. You know, a high producing office that gives bonuses off of same day treatment is also really stressful. Some people love it, and I did for like a hot second, but after a while, like it kind of gets old, and I was just like so sick of it because it really depended on the patient. I was like, whatever, I don't really need that anymore. I'm good. Overall, I'm not trying to sit here and complain, but I do want to just kind of chat about some things that I didn't like. So if you feel this way towards your office, maybe you can relate, and maybe this might be a sign for you to leave that office, especially if it's not a healthy, supportive, encouraging work environment. Are there things about my new office that aren't perfect? Of course. Is any job perfect? Absolutely not. But am I a lot happier? And do I feel more supported? Yes. I do. That is the main thing that I really decided to focus on for myself. And I don't go home every day feeling stressed and sad about work. I don't really care in a good way. I don't come home and think about work too much. I think about how much I love dental hygiene, but I don't think about, man, this person was really toxic to me today. I hope all of this made sense. I don't know if I rambled too much, but if you have any questions about whether you should leave an office, you're thinking to yourself, should I leave? Listen to that feeling, dive into it, write it down, and figure out what is making you feel that way, because your gut might be telling you something. And even if it doesn't make sense and you feel like you're kind of spiraling like I was just doing a little bit, it might be a really good sign that you might need a different change of pace. You might need a new environment. On the same note, if you're feeling burnt out, reflect on your environment of work. How many patients are you seeing? How booked out are you? What is your bonus based on? Do you get adequate rest time? All of those little questions. If you're feeling burnt out, it might also be time for you to move on to a new office. New set of faces, a new socioeconomic status for your patients is also just another thing that can help burnout as well. I went from a very wealthy part of town to more middle class, and I didn't realize how much of a shift that would be just with the things I talk about, how I talk to them about patients. And I just think it's so refreshing because I have to think of new ways to help people. That alone has just been really cool. It's a different set of eyes, different set of ears, and it's been really refreshing. Hope you guys have a great day. I love you all, and I will see you in the next one.